Hey team, how are you? Master Schiele here. Today I thought I'd talk about a wonderful subject, which is getting back into the martial arts after you've been out of it for a long period of time. Whether you were a little child when you trained, the years got away from you, and now all of a sudden you're an adult and you want to get back into it, or maybe you've just been out of the art for a few weeks to a few months, and you just are having a little reserve of getting back on the floor. This is going to be a wonderful subject to talk about. Not only am I a black belt in martial arts, but through the years and just seeing so much of this and so many returning martial artists, I think I'm also a black belt in this subject. Please do me a favor. If you've not yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that great stuff. It'll keep me sending this awesome information to you. Let's get started. So the first thing is you have to understand that you cannot go back, all right? If you were 18 years old when you originally started martial art training and you were winning national championships and you have trophies that are taller than you, and all of a sudden, you know, the years got away from you and now you're 48 years old and you want to get back into the art, guess what? You're at a different stage. And because you're at a different stage, you have to understand that your body's changed, a lot of things have changed right there, so don't compare yourself. And I think that's going to really help you set yourself up for success, is by not comparing to the old you, but the new you, all right? Doesn't mean you don't want to remember those awesome times, but now you're creating new memories. So the first key is, when you're returning to martial arts, don't look back, all right? A rear view mirror is there for a reason. You look at it to look back quickly, but your eyes are on the road forward. If you look in that mirror too much, what's going to happen? You're going to get in an accident, right? So eyes on the road, quick look back, and just keep going forward, all right? Next thing is, remember that the longer you've been out of the art, the more time you're going to have to use to get back into it. So for example, if you've been out for 2 weeks, all right, you haven't missed too much, right? Maybe you're a little sore your first class back. Maybe you lost a little flexibility because you've been out of it. But let's say it's been years and it's been a long time. Well, guess what? If it's been years, you're starting over again. Even if you have the knowledge, your body has to catch up to you, right? So don't take it too hard, your first class. Ease into it. Remember, the longer you've been out of it, the more time it takes to really adjust to it, all right? Next thing is, you have to understand that it's always one step at a time. So the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And every step that you make, you're getting closer and closer and closer to your goal. Don't rush the process. You can't skip those steps. It's literally one step at a time. So you take a class, you get back into it. You know what? That's a huge success. The next day you feel very sore. Great. Get back to class, right? A week later, something gets in the way and you go, I don't know if I can make it tonight. Still go, because here's what's going to happen. You got to take those initial first steps, because those first steps are the hardest to really getting back to it. Don't miss that. It takes 21 days to build a habit. So if you could really make those first few weeks, you're back in. But you got to remember, the first week is not enough. It's that first 3 weeks, that's where the magic starts to happen. 21 days to build a habit. Next one is, if you've ever had an injury, that might be something that gets in the way, all right? So understand that I see that many times. And to be honest, a lot of times I have people that go, you know what, I have this injury and I can't get back to it. Well, here's my what I would like to say to that. If you have an injury, we work around that, okay? So let's say you had a back injury. Good. Let's work around that. You had a knee injury. Good. Let's work around that. A few years ago, I shattered my ankle, and it was devastating, because what happened was, when I shattered that ankle, literally I was training to go back to the tournament circuits, and I was really excited about that. And after that moment happened, it almost took me close to a year just to walk again. It took me 2 years to really feel like I was myself again. But again, it was just that one step at a time. I have that injury. I don't let it label me, but at the same point, I like to know, hey, you know what, sometimes maybe it's a little sore that day, so I have to take it easy on that. I acknowledge the injury that I had, but I don't let it get in the way of me, all right? And I think that's the key for all of us, is if you have an injury, don't pretend it's not there, but don't let it get in the way of really you excelling in all the things that you want to accomplish, all right? Just work around that. The next thing is, as we kind of progress forward, when you have that, so not only an injury, but sometimes we age, right? And aging is not an injury, but as we get older, what does our body like to do? It gets tighter, right? So it takes longer to really build it. So flexibility is really, really key. So I think one of the things that really helps too is when you're getting back into the arts, the biggest thing is not endurance, because everyone goes, oh, endurance, I got to build my endurance up, I got to build my stamina back up. Actually, I disagree. I think you have to build your flexibility back up, because the body tightens up the older that we get, right? So I think the flexibility is the first thing, because if the flexibility is there, the youth is there, and we feel better. So the first thing is to really, when you're getting back into it, is focus on your flexibility. Deep stretching, make sure you're working that. If you've not yet, do hit one of my videos on stretching. I think you'll really enjoy it too. So that'll be a really good key to kind of take away as well. Next one is, don't let your old martial art habits get in the way of your future progression. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say you are a 3rd degree black belt in karate and you are now starting taekwondo, and you say, in my old school, this is what we did, this is what we did, this is what we did. I think that's wonderful. I really do. And I appreciate all martial arts, but here's the problem. The moment you start comparing, you're not fully accepting the learning process. So what I like to say is, when you have techniques, you have knowledge, you have future experience in your arts, that's for you. That's wonderful. But don't compare, right? If you compare a punch in Kung Fu as opposed to karate, as opposed to boxing, well, I think all of those have different takeaways, right? So if you compare and you say, oh, in my school, I used to do this instead of this, well, guess what? Now you're not opening yourself up to actually learning the technique from your new instructor. So don't compare. Keep that as arsenal for yourself, but don't let that get in the way of your learning process as you start this new journey. And I think that's really, really important. And I think you'll really appreciate that process more. I can't tell you how many times I have old black belts from other martial arts come in, and I say, okay, well, where do you feel you are? And 9 times out of 10, they say, you know what, I'd love to do a white belt again to start. Because the white belt, it lets you start from that beginning with no pressure, right? If you start as a white belt, there's beauty in really kind of going to the belts again to get to that black belt. And I always think that's the best choice, personally, because now you're never holding yourself and saying, oh, I'm a black belt. No, be a white belt sometimes. Being a white belt is humbling, and it allows you to learn and allows you to really appreciate the full experience in getting back on the floor and back into the arts. Last thing, guys, and this is probably the most important, is it takes, usually, we say statistically, about 1 to 5% of people that start in martial arts actually make it to a black belt, all right? So let's say, there's 100 people in a room, they all start as a white belt, about 5% will actually make it to that black belt and beyond. Now, I want you to think about this. Think about all the people that actually started in martial arts, they quit, and they returned. That is one of the hardest things I've ever seen people do. And you know what? Anyone that's ever done that, and if this was you, I'm very proud of you, because you have beat the standards. You have beat the numbers where their numbers are working against you. And there's so many things that might get in the way of it, right? Whether it's, an injury, whether it's, sometimes the biggest hurdle is up here, right? Is comparing and saying, hey, I can't be what I was before because I'm this person now. Well, you know what? You're not that person anymore. You're a new version of yourself. So guess what? Move forward, build yourself, be humble, and really enjoy the process. If you got back into the art, I'm very proud of you. If you're thinking about it, let me tell you one thing. One thing that'll always help you is think about all those things that you've accomplished. Think about that journey, think about all those wonderful things that you've done, and think about the things that you're gonna do going forward. That's what it's all about. And if you build yourself that way, and you really say to yourself, hey, I'm a black belt, I can work forward, there you go. But it's one step at a time, right? When you get back on the mats, it's all about you. Enjoy the process, enjoy that journey. I'm so proud of you guys. Get back in if you haven't, and I'll see you in our next video. Take care, guys.